You know, stretching all the way back to my youth, horror games have always intrigued me. Maybe that's because I wasn't allowed to play them for the longest time, but I definitely remember spending a lot of time at my cousin's house watching my uncle play Resident Evil, and it scared the hell out of me. You know, that was similar to X-Files, which I also fell in love with, and as a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch, so I always found myself sneaking glances of it, and again, being terrified, but loving it all the same. Things have advanced a lot from rudimentary polygons, and as the technology grows now, games become even more horrifying and extremely visceral. And I can tell you, they have done it again. They have truly pushed the envelope this time, and they have made the darkest, grittiest survival horror game to date. Wait a second. No. Nope, that's the wrong game. Nope, today we are talking about Luigi's Mansion. I'm Scott Reynolds, and welcome to Fallen Star Gaming. Okay, so maybe this game isn't exactly terrifying, but Luigi sure seems to think that it is. The first Luigi's Mansion served as a launch title for the Nintendo GameCube, releasing in November 2001 in North America. The plot was simple, as expected from most Mario games, but completely worked in the setting of the game. Luigi is invited to a haunted mansion under false pretenses, and something happens to Mario, leaving Luigi as the only one to save the day. Armed with the poltergust, courtesy of Professor E. Gadd, you're off on an adventure, sucking up all the ghosts along the way. This first game ended up going on to be the 5th best-selling GameCube game of all time, thus giving merit to the sequels that would follow. Sadly, I never had a GameCube growing up, so there's a lot of amazing games I missed out on when I was young. The original Luigi's Mansion was one of these games. My introduction to the series was the second installation, Dark Moon for the 3DS. This second game hit shelves in March of 2013. I remember being intrigued even having missed the first one. It was undeniable that the game looked good and brought a unique kind of quirky fun that made it very enjoyable. This is one of the few games that I used the 3D feature on, and once your eyes adjusted to it, it actually worked quite well. This is a game I actually ended up buying twice and sadly never played to completion. I sold my first copy when I initially got rid of my 3DS and all my games, and this would end up being a decision I regretted, and eventually found myself really missing the system, and thus bought another one, which I now have to this day. This was always a game I really wanted to play through, and I knew I enjoyed, but it always ended up getting stuck in my ever-growing backlog. A spoiler warning is in effect from this point forward. You've been warned. That brings us up to speed with the history of the franchise and my experience with the series thus far. I do remember when the first trailer for Luigi's Mansion 3 was aired, I was immediately drawn to it. Shortly after a few teaser trailers that didn't show much other than logos, there was a Smash Direct that showed Simon Belmont being revealed for the cast, and this is the same trailer that they showed Luigi literally dying and his soul leaving his body. Good times. I ended up getting this game as a Christmas gift and initially played through the first hour or so until I ended up benching it. Once I finished a few other games, I felt it was time to dive into this game and give it my undivided attention. And boy, am I glad I did. Luigi's Mansion 3 brings a level of charm and polish that only Nintendo can deliver. There are so many small details here, it's easy to miss something. The first time this game really wowed me was when I was suctioning up a water can, watered some dead plants, and proceeded to shine my flashlight on them to make them grow and blossom into a flourish of coins. Many people have stated that this is the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch to date, and I have to fully agree with them. Everything from the textures on Luigi's clothes to the lighting effects and shadows, and even the Virtual Boy themed menu all ooze an unmistakable Nintendo vibe that you can only find on their first party intellectual properties. The story in this game is yet again exactly what you would expect from the series. It plays it very safe and leaves something to be desired while also doing just enough to justify the events of the game. Luigi, who I am now convinced is the most gullible being in the entirety of the Toadstool Kingdom, gets yet another invitation from an unknown benefactor for a free trip to an ornate hotel. By now, this should be setting off some red flags. As the Mario Brothers arrive at their destination, it seems something is off, but nobody seems to take any notice. All the hotel employees and bellboys are ghosts simply wearing human masks. The crew is then shown to their rooms, and they shuffle off to bed before disaster strikes as Luigi is awakened to find his comrades being trapped in paintings by King Boo. After hurtling down a garbage chute, he is reunited with Professor Egad, who sets up a pop-up lab in the basement of the hotel. Armed with a new iteration of the Poltergust, we are off to smash ghosts and wreak havoc on the hotel staff. As far as the gameplay is concerned, there is nothing revolutionary, but is undeniably fun. The Poltergust G00, or Goo, has a handful of abilities that will be used as you traverse from floor to floor. At first the controls are going to seem a bit wonky and it'll take some getting used to, but it does get better as time goes on. And this is most obvious when doing full rotations, such as when you spin, it can become difficult to aim where you're trying to. Also, depth perception can be an occasional issue. There were some times when dealing with enemies, it was difficult to track exactly how far away they were. Vacuum function. This has been a series staple since the beginning. It sucks air in or blows air out. I know, riveting stuff. Luigi can also create an updraft by hitting both triggers at once. This will temporarily lift the player off the ground, and most commonly is used to avoid grounded enemy attacks or projectiles. There is a standard flashlight, which can be charged up to release a powerful strobe, which will stun ghosts, allowing you to engage them. The Poltergust also comes standard with an unending supply of plungers, which can be fired at objects and sticks to most surfaces. Luigi is a plumber after all, so he's gotta have those plungers. And finally, the blacklight. This can track and reveal ghosts, or reveal hidden objects and things hidden behind walls and or paintings. The basic premise in this third installment is to clear the ghosts and solve the puzzles on each floor. Along the way, you will face different enemy types, various puzzle elements, and different environments or themes on each floor. For example, one floor may be completely overgrown with vegetation, while the next is a fully functioning movie studio, or a medieval times-like experience. Each floor culminates with a boss battle. If you should prove victorious, you will earn the elevator button that allows you to travel to the next floor. As you defeat enemies or interact with the environment, you're going to find a lot of currency. Coins, dollars, pearls, gold bars, and even golden enemies. These golden enemies, once defeated, erupt into a shower of loot. On the one hand, they made it feel very gratifying as you stumble around vacuuming up all the money you can find. But on the other side of that coin, get it? That's a joke about money. There's nothing to truly spend your currency on. You can technically go to Egad's lab and spend some of the coins you've earned, but the average player will never be able to unload all of their coins. There are 3 items in total: a bone, which allows Polterpup to resurrect you on the spot upon death, the Boo Finder, which points to the nearest hidden Boo enemy, and finally an item that will point you exactly in the direction of the next closest hidden gem. Relatively early on in the game, Egad will fill the canister on the Poltergust with a lime green gelatinous substance. The professor then explains via a crash course how useful Gooigi can be and the sort of situations he will be invaluable in. The two leave the lab and a large cage drops down, trapping Luigi inside. There is a mechanism close by that can raise the cage, but not without Gooigi's assistance. Luigi, thou a life-size green doppelganger who Terminator 2's his way through the bars. At this point in my playthrough, I was realizing the various spots I had passed but had failed to solve the puzzles. This was by design. Nintendo walked you past some of the things you could not complete alone so that you would instantly recall them once you had a jello mold sidekick who shoots plungers from a vacuum. I was hoping to briefly touch on the subject of the music in this game, as it is also a feature in Luigi's Mansion 3. Allegedly. The music is not bad, and I'll say that right up front, but it is completely forgettable, and most of the time you don't even really notice that it's there. I wasn't even sure if it was worth talking about at all, and now I feel as though I've already spent too much time talking about it. So, finally getting to the portion of the video where I lay out all my thoughts and ultimately rate the game on a scale from 1 to 10. There's actually a decent amount to unpack here, so I'm going to begin with price and average time to beat. The website howlongtobeat.com gives an estimate between 15 and 20 hours. So right off the bat, we can say it's a pretty short experience, especially when we also weigh that against the fact that it's a $60 AAA video game. One thing certainly pulling in its favor is just how incredible the game looks, and for the most part, it is enjoyable from start to finish. One other small complaint that I do have here is the difficulty, or rather, I suppose it would be more accurate to say the lack of difficulty. Now, I absolutely do not need or want every game to be balls to the wall difficult. If I'm in the mood for that sort of challenge, I will seek out one of those games. However, I still believe maybe at least offering the choice would have been beneficial to some people. All things considered, is this the best game in the world? No, I certainly don't think so, but I am positive that playing through it was absolutely the right choice. Luigi's Mansion 3 ratchets up the level of charm to 11 and never looks back. This game is perfect to play if you're in a relaxing mood or you don't want to play a game that requires a lot of skill or delivers a hefty challenge. I've decided to give this game an 8.25 because although it is a great game, it does certainly have its flaws. And as I previously stated, I would definitely recommend other people play this game as well. Luigi's Mansion 3 certainly does have a lot going for it. In my opinion, it is the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch right now. The textures are amazing and currently unparalleled. Not to mention that, but the difference from floor to floor as the levels change are incredible, and it is a sight worth seeing. I don't want to spoil any more than I already have. And then there's also the tiny little details that you can go through the whole game and miss all of them. Like when I found out the flowers, it could be watered and then given light and they would grow. Little things like that always wow me. And then the cutscenes in this game are out of this world. Every single cutscene feels like you are watching a cartoon, honestly. It's just incredible. On the other hand, there's some serious problems here and definitely room for improvement. The first of which is there's only 4 enemy types throughout the entirety of the game. And every so often they will put on sunglasses or dress up in different costumes, so you have to tackle them a little bit differently, but you will end up growing tired of these 4 ghosts, I promise you. Also, the controls are not very optimized. You will get used to them, but that's not because the controls are good, it's just because you will power through it. Also, the game is incredibly short. Considering it's a $60 game, it is painfully short at 15 hours. And then personally, what I consider to be the biggest frustration or the biggest insult is that you end up with stacks and stacks of coins and currency and gold bars, and they're fucking useless. You can't do anything with them. And that is just such a missed opportunity. Okay, and for my closing thoughts, in the essence of full disclosure, I wanted to let you guys know, I did not touch the multiplayer at all. so that did not weigh in on my ranking whatsoever. It didn't help it, it didn't hurt it, I just didn't even touch it. It might be the best thing in the world, I just don't know. Also, I would love for you guys to leave a comment and tell me what you personally thought about this game, and what was your favorite level in this game. Also, please like and subscribe, it means the world to me. Until next time, later nerds.
These nuts. Got him!